Hello, welcome to Prime Solutions with Chris, and welcome to my channel. I please if you have not subscribed to this channel, this is the right time to do so. I keep saying it because there are so many benefits to joining this channel. If you're thinking of moving to Canada, relocating to Canada for studies, to work, to live, and to have the best of careers and studies, this is the right place to be, because on this channel I try my best to keep it real with practical experience, with lived experience, with my conversation with professors, and with, of course, with my experience having worked even in the university system for a substantial number of, I would say, even as a graduate student, working in the school system, and of course having really very close interaction with professors. I would tell you that I can give you a substantial knowledge that can guide you to make that right decision of applying for studies here, and of course eventually getting the admission you need, plus the funding you need to come to Canada for studies. We will keep it real here. Some things we will say might be challenging, but I tell you the truth, if you follow these steps we are going to be, I'm going to be talking about here, you will see yourself succeeding in no time to coming to Canada for studies. Yeah, so I'm going to get our flag very close. I like to show this flag. Anyway, now today we'll be talking about understanding. I would say now you're ready to apply you're ready to apply to universities, particularly for graduate students. You're ready to apply for graduate studies, and you'll be maybe wondering, what are the requirements? The requirements are really very straightforward. I think what matters most is not what are the requirements. Like, these are the requirements, but it's important you understand. Even when you understood the requirements, how did you package yourself in sending those documents or letters you're asked to send? Those are things that you will need to understand to be able to make that choice very quickly, and of course send your application and expect that expect a very high success rate with regard to your application. You see, when I'm talking, if anything comes to my head, I will write it down, because eventually it will form part of the discussion we're having today, or part of the learning I'm providing today. I am not scripted. Like I always say, I am here trying to provide you real personal experience or knowledge gotten from interaction with professors in school, and of course from my own research. So be rest assured that you can get substantial knowledge when you stick to this channel that can help you to make that right choice, and of course have success with it when you put the knowledge to practice. So today let's talk about just when you're ready to apply to school, what are the requirements? Of course, the first requirement are those very basic things. Your first degree is always a requirement. Your first degree is a requirement in the sense that most schools, if you apply for graduate education, will want to see your transcripts. And I want to talk about transcript in 3 areas. One of the ways most schools will want to get your transcript is your university will send it directly. University send directly when you apply. Some will tell you send a copy, and then still ask your university to send one. Some will tell you also send to one of the evaluation centers in Canada. They will evaluate the transcripts, and then you get to know exactly does this transcript meet the requirement for this particular program. Sometimes it doesn't happen. It doesn't get to this point. But the first 2 stages, it gets there. One of the things you need to start thinking of in advance when you are thinking of planning to come to Canada for graduate studies is getting your transcript ready. In some schools, in Nigeria, maybe even across African states. I don't know. I will speak of Nigeria specifically. Getting transcript can take some time. I remember when I moved to Norway for my first degree, I had to relocate from Lagos to Benin to get my transcript, because I don't just want to stay in Lagos and start making calls, get me this or get me that. No, I had to practically move from Lagos to Benin to apply for my transcripts, keep moving, keep waiting. If I need to go to my department, I go to my department. If I need to go to the faculty office where it has to go to before getting to the exams record, I have to keep following up to make sure that it's moving from one table to the other. I don't need to have access to it, but I want to make sure the file is moving, because I needed to get to Norway, to the University of Tromsø in time. So I took that option because I had the time to do so. If you don't have the time to do so, you have to maybe move to your school to wait for your transcript. We live in a very much digital age now. You can actually apply online and the university will send it out quickly. Right now, thankfully, we have some schools don't even mind if they don't get a hard copy, but get electronic copy sent from the university email, not your email, please. Some schools will take that option. If the university can send a copy from their email, yes, that can be accepted as authentic. If the university cannot send that via email, they have to use one of maybe the regular posts or courier to send it to the university that needs it, or you need it to be sent to here in Canada. So during my time, there was no option of sending my transcript to my university in Norway then via email. So I had to request for it for it to be sent via DHL. I think I used DHL, not FedEx. I had to request for it to be sent via the courier, one of the courier companies. I can't tell which one again. It's been a long time. So it got to them directly from my former university to the new potential new university I'm going to. So I didn't get to see. Of course, I got a copy for myself, which I later notarized, just in case if some university eventually would need me to send a copy. If I happen not to get maybe not successful during that period, I can always send a copy that I have for them to start processing the admission, while the original or certified copy comes directly from my former school. So remember, for the first documents you need when it comes to applying for graduate education here is your transcript. Right now, I'm not going to dwell so much on the fact that you need to have the best of CGPA to be able to get admission. There are so many factors that come to play when it comes to reviewing your application document. It's not just whether you made a 2-2 or whether you made a 2-1 or whether you made a first class that will play the biggest role when assessing your application for graduate studies. There's so much more that comes to play. But it's important we understand that it is always necessary you request for your transcript to be processed and sent to the school in advance, in time. This is very important for you to be able to meet the application deadline. Subsequently, I will talk about the right ways to apply. Should you focus on meeting the application deadline, or should you focus on applying way much in advance, even before the application deadline? So that will be a different topic entirely. But just so you understand, yes, the right way to send your transcript is most schools will prefer to get it from the school directly via one of the courier channels, or they will prefer to get it via email coming from coming to them via the school email address, not your own email address, so you know that. Or some schools will tell you, if you have a copy, send us a copy, But while we use that to access your application, we also need a copy, the original copy or certified copy from the school directly, not from you. It's important we understand these distinctions. The essence of asking you to send a copy first is for them to start processing your application. That doesn't represent the authentic transcript they need from you, but that can help facilitate processing your application. Taking into consideration you also submitted other document required. So that is when that is taken care of. Another thing that we'll also want to think about or put into consideration is that most schools, when it comes to graduate studies, will want you to even send your resume. We want you to send your curriculum vitae. We call it CV back home, but in most cases it could just be your resume. Curriculum vitae is a very long we don't want to go into the difference, but the most important thing is that you will be asked to send something, resume, CV, that can provide details of your work experience if you have any. Of course, you should. The expectation is that if you have spent some years between your first degree and second degree, potential second degree, you should have some form of resume to provide details of what you've done, not just your work experience, paid work. That will also contain some of the activities you've done, including volunteering. I will tell I will treat a separate topic on volunteering and how that can impact the success of your application to study in Canada. That's one of the things we really get to the background without knowing the impact it can have on your application. But anyway, it's important you will know that your resume is important, providing details chronologically, the details of your work experience as part of your application documents. Another thing we'll talk about that you need to submit, most schools will require, is your letter of motivation. Some schools call it a statement of interest. Some schools call it letter of motivation. This is one place you can use to sell, in quotes, sell yourself. Market yourself, I would say. I don't want to dwell so much on that because there are strategic ways to write letter of motivation that will capture the mind of every application reviewer, that when they read your letter of motivation, they will be so captured on how you're able to present yourself and want you definitely to come and join the school. Remember, he said one of the things, it is not just about how excellent grade you have that gives you the admission. That is important. I keep saying it. But if you have a first class or second class upper or something in that area and you're not able to present yourself well, somebody with a 2.2 or even less than that with good work experience and was able to present themselves well in the application will get the admission before you. So it is high time we start looking beyond I made excellent grade and my CGPA is the best in town. So this is automatic admission for me. Forget it. It's not. As far as Canada is concerned, it's good. But does that mean automatic admission for you? No, it's not. So many factors come to play when it comes to assessing your application. Yeah, some schools, particularly when it comes to a master's program or PhD, that most master's program and in all cases of PhD, that requires you to write a dissertation or, of course, write a thesis. In this case, most schools will require you to write one-page research interest. Some schools will require you to write a 2-page, but in most cases, it's just one-page research interest. Some other schools will expect that you tie your research interest to your motivation. Some schools will ask specifically for letter of motivation and 1-page or 2-page or 500 words or 1,000 words research interest. So you have to understand what the school requires. Different schools have different requirements. So when you are looking to apply to 1 or 2 or 3 schools, don't expect that the requirement for the 3 will be the same. there might be differences. So you have to understand the expectation of one school, keep to that expectation. The expectation of the second school, keep to that expectation. It's very, very important that when they ask for that, whatever they ask for, provide it. I'm not going to talk about how again to write your research interest here. That would be a different topic entirely. That you once you are subscribed to this channel and hit the notification button, you will know exactly when I discuss that, and I'll be discussing that very, very, very soon, because application process for the year has already started about 2-3 months ago, and it's still ongoing till about May or thereabouts. So definitely in the next month, before the next 3 weeks, I will touch all these areas to prepare you to send in your application, just in case if you're still thinking, how do I write my research interest. It is one thing to have the knowledge of what you want to talk about in your research interest. It's another thing entirely to know how to present that knowledge. So what we're going to be talking about here is how to present that idea, or those ideas you have that will possibly or potentially form your research interest. How will I present these ideas to capture the minds of professors that will want to be my supervisor, or capture the minds of staffs that review these applications, that will make them feel this guy, this lady, or this person is one of the best candidates we want for this program. So watch out for another topic on that, on statement of interest and other areas too. Another thing we will also talk about is, we'll talk about resume already. You need to send in your resume. Another thing that seems to be a big challenge is language proficiency. How do I show that I can speak English? How do I show that I understand English? How do I show that, yes, I am capable of not just speaking but expressing myself and writing using English language? There's so many options we have, but I will be honest with you. Most schools here in Canada accept your YA. If you're applying from any country, West Africa, most schools accept your YA certificate, which detail, of course, how many subjects you took in school and what are your grades. Of course, WAEC, West African Examination Council, that's the body that has the role of organizing senior secondary school exams in West African countries. So if you have your WAEC certificate, or if you have your WAEC results, many schools here accept that, but you will need to send a what do you call it, a pin that they can verify the results themselves online. You don't verify that for them. Send a copy of the results, but go and buy a scratch card, scratch it, scan it, and send to them. They will verify the result themselves. I have, as many students I've supported here and brought to Canada, that was what we did. I know there's a guy somewhere, I think in Alberta now, I can't remember his name, that is championing that idea that all schools need to accept WAEC and NECO, but I think he's focused on Nigeria, has to accept WAEC or NECO from Nigeria, potential graduate students or applicants from Nigeria. That we it's kind of funny that they have to request from some schools have to request that we submit this IELTS or TOEFL or some other English proficiency exams that we have out there. But again, don't even be discouraged if you don't have IELTS or if you don't have TOEFL. Maybe when we talk about immigrating for economic reasons, economic purposes, we'll start talking about maybe how that IELTS play a role in increasing your score. But we are not even close to that yet. We're talking about studies. Right now, your WAEC is enough. But go through the school, go through requirements to be sure that this school accepts WAEC result. They are, when it comes to English proficiency, they are very specific. They get very specific on countries. You can click on Nigeria, click on Ghana, click on any country to see, is my country exempted from submitting IELTS or submitting TOEFL, and therefore my WAEC or my NECO is enough. Once that is enough, submit your result, a copy, and then send a scratch card. In most cases, they will be very specific that you need to send a scratch card for us, scratch it, scan it, and send to them to verify. That is very, very important. In some other cases, actually, I think I've had some situations where applicants will go to their school and get their university to write a letter saying that their language of instruction in school was English language. So this particular applicant can communicate, can express himself, write very well, proficiently in English language or using English language. So it's no longer a big challenge when it comes to presenting something to show for your English proficiency. Well, except when you don't make at least a credit in your WAEC or NECO, then there's a problem. But once you make a credit there, that's enough to show that yes, you can communicate, write, and express yourself in English. Another thing also will be, letter of recommendation. Start in time. So start thinking of who will write my letter of recommendation. Who do I approach that can write a strong letter of recommendation for me to support my application. Don't relegate this to the background. This is important. You need to get someone to help you do this. It can be, in my own case, when I moved to Norway, and even when I moved to Canada for graduate studies, I got my university in Norway to write me a letter of recommendation. I got a professor there to write the school here, and I got a professor in my school, University of Benin, Nigeria, to even write a letter of recommendation for me here. Again, if the good thing about this letter of recommendation, particularly when you don't seem to have close relationship with professors who can really tell about your capacity for graduate studies, if you have worked long enough, if you have worked for some years, your supervisor, your director, somebody who has the capacity to talk about you can also write that letter of recommendation. Some schools, I'll be honest with you, some schools will be very specific that will need this letter from a professor in school. In that case, maybe they're asking for 2 letters or 3 letters. They would say, we need one from a professor in school. In that case, please approach a professor in school to do this for you, because that will go a long way to help you to increase your chances of getting the admission. All these things are things that has to be reviewed. Of course, you need to also think about funding. Funding, again, is a different topic. We'll discuss it separately. We'll discuss funding separately for you to understand so many options out there for you if you feel you or don't have enough funding yourself or sponsors to help you to fund your education in Canada. We'll discuss all options open. Another thing is, passport. I mean, that's not any big deal. Even if you don't have a passport, you can always get a passport, international passport, once you get your admission. So, yeah. Now we have looked at understanding the requirements. We've seen how easy it is to get. Once we start early to start planning. Planning is important. We've talked about the first stage of planning, the second stage of planning, even when you want to start applying for admission. Remember, understanding the requirements we talked about now is important. It takes planning to get these things ready. Get them ready, and Canada, most likely you will succeed in when you send your application. Of course, we don't want to talk about cost of sending your application. That's a different thing entirely. I will talk about that in another different topic entirely. But for now, it's important you understand this video is just meant to teach you or to explain to you how best to begin to think of the requirements when it comes to graduate education in Canada. So, yeah, please, thank you for joining me today, and I hope you enjoyed my teaching today. please hit that subscribe button to join my channel, and of course give me some thumbs up in my to increase more viewership of my videos, and turn on your notification button to know when I post new videos. And until when I come your way next few days, I hope you remember blessed, and see you next time.